get the very, very end of the graveyard shift just to say, my job is, it says on the program I have to say goodbye and refreshments, so I could just say goodbye and refreshments. But usually I get to make a little summing up in which, well, I should actually say that I'm Chris Brandwood. I'm a teacher, or I've been a teacher since about 1980-something, I won't say when. My job is to look after all these colleagues from the British Council who run all these different English programs, which is a pleasure and a challenge, and many thanks to all of them and everybody else who's been here today working on this, and to everybody for coming. I could, of course, talk about how it would be nice if our governments were nicer to us all and give us visas quickly. I won't talk about that. I could, of course, talk about George's family and Aunt Marjorie, but I won't talk about them. And I could talk about the universal set of notes and tweets that I've got and made pages of notes before, which I'm now not going to repeat, and the sort of infinite subset of problems that we have in quality and the finite subset of answers we should have for solving our quality problems. But anyway, just three little areas that struck me as we went through and all the different things that we had today. One thing that struck me that you hear everywhere, not just in India, whether it's the UK, any other place, is this theory and praxis debate, and too much theory. Everybody talks about how to solve the problems and who on earth does it. And Gayatri Anand, who authored principally the little report that was in your packet here about the quality standards situation in India, she talked about an implementation gap, which is a technological way of saying that people are not doing enough in a practical sense. And I think that's very fair. And the comments such as teacher educators who don't teach, textbook writers who don't teach, and then all the statistics from Professor Tripathi with the varying quality standards across the place. I mean, this is not just an Indian perspective, it's the same comments you'd find in any country. So what does one do about this? And I think the big word today has been sharing. And there's a lot, I think if you do one of those word maps that you do on the web, you would see sharing, collaboration, cooperation coming up the most. And our organisation, our British Council organisation, which we're quite proud of sometimes, mostly what we try and do is put people together. We're working in 110 countries. We do things in English language and exams and what have you in particular. And if we can bring expertise from India and Britain together and bang our heads together and come up with good ideas, I think that's really what it's all about. And Ashok, who has had to go to a wedding, I believe, but anyway, his quote was my favourite quote of the day, which was, "Competitive edge will increase if you share." And I think that's something I definitely believe. And I think that was a really, really nice quote. And I think sharing is a splendid thing. So what to do about sharing? And we've had some, plenty of examples today. We've had a discussion of associations. Amol gave us examples as well of a teachers' association. We've talked about the schools association coming up. We've had lots of works. We like to say frameworks and standards and systems. When we have some new frameworks coming through, we've heard about some Indian quality systems and standards. We've got the program that John has just presented, the ELQSP, the English Language Quality Standards Program, which has come through. But it all comes back at one point to quality. And when we're talking in education, then the key person is, of course, the teacher. And one of the great issues that worries me as a teacher as well is this sort of professional category and professional respect for teachers. And George said nicely at one point, what did he say? You've got to be up to it, up for it, up to date, and get up in the morning as well. And I thought that was quite a nice quote, this burden on teachers and the load that they already have. And I think it was Arjun Badlani who said at one point as well, he said, it's important for managers to be role models. So I think the managers and we as, usually leaders of institutions, if we don't set a good example for our own learning, our own development and what have you, it's difficult to imagine that teachers are going to do the same. So I think putting this together, it was also quite heartening actually to hear Professor Panda say this morning about when he was talking about pre-service training and about the new PGCE type. He mentioned the UK PGCs, but basically teacher training courses with large amounts of teaching practice in, and taking novice teachers into schools or beginner teachers into schools and actually doing classroom practice. And I think that is plainly going to help in the training and development of teachers. But, yesterday at the CPD book launch, Professor Rama Matthew, that some of you might know from the University of Delhi, she was talking about how do you motivate teachers for CPD. And you know, she said about providing incentives. Somebody was telling me today, you know, incentives not necessarily money to do it. It might be, but you know, incentives of the pleasure and satisfaction of doing CPD programs and getting people involved. And I think, you know, that is truly the challenge. Anyway, we've had lots of ideas. We've planted seeds, I think, for many trees, not just one association tree. Yeah, we've heard about associations, CPDs, standard systems, you name it. So back to sharing, back to collaboration, back to working together. I hope we can work with you again in different ways, in different places. And again, a very big thank you to all the panelists, all the organizers, everybody here. It's definitely time to stop now. So thank you very much. Bye.